So President Donald Trump has come to the realization that he probably needs fraud in order to win re-election in November. He needs to suppress the vote in order to have a solid shot at defeating Joe Biden. And his administration isn't even hiding it anymore. There's a new report, which I encourage you to read in Politico, explaining that Trump's aides, Trump's staffers, the people around him know this, and they're now looking at any way they can come up with to suppress the vote, curb vote by mail, disenfranchise as many people as possible when they are people that are likely to vote for Joe Biden rather than Donald Trump. Now, you might remember last week I told you we shouldn't be that confident in Joe Biden's lead, and that's true. That hasn't changed. If you look at polls that have Biden up 9 and you see that there's a margin of error of 3.5, that means Joe Biden might only be up by 2. Hillary won by 2 in 2016 in the popular vote and still lost the Electoral College. That analysis from last week is true. And in particular, if anything changes between now and November that helps Donald Trump, a slightly improved economy, we'll talk about Q3 GDP numbers, which we will get literally 4 days before the election. We could see a 1 or 2 point swing away from Biden and towards Trump, and Trump gets reelected. So that's all true. But it is also clear that it's too close for comfort. And the report in Politico points out that there's a complete and total commitment from the Trump campaign to a strategy not of improving the country, not of improving the economy, not of dealing with coronavirus. The strategy is essentially fraud, to suppress the vote so that the will of the people is not accurately represented. This is not the type of fraud, by the way, that they claim exists. Trump now has spent 2-3 months, I guess, pushing the idea that there was in-person voter fraud back in 2016, and in 2020, there will be vote by mail fraud if more people vote by mail. Remember, Trump has not accepted the popular vote result of the 2016 election, which had him winning the presidency. Trump won electorally in 2016. He lost the popular vote by millions of votes. He still has not accepted that. And now he insists if we increase mail-in voting in 2020, it will be a fake, fraudulent, rigged election. There will be fraud, but the real fraud is what Trump is doing to suppress the vote. The real fraud is what Trump is doing to prevent vote by mail and to kneecap the post office. And we're already seeing bins of mail overflowing in post offices across the country as postal workers are restricted in being able to work overtime to get the mail delivered. If you want fraud in the sense of someone preventing the will of the people from being done, it's what Donald Trump and people around him are doing, and they have gone fully mask off. They're not even pretending otherwise. And when you actually look at the full list of what they're doing, it should be criminal. Now, if we want to give Trump a consequence, it's removing him in November, right? What he's doing should be criminal, but I mean, forget it, right? That's not going to be the way it's handled. You've got a massive effort in a bunch of states to file lawsuits to change voting rules when it comes to vote by mail and voting absentee. That includes Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. Aides are trying to figure out what executive orders can Trump sign to just unilaterally curb mail-in voting through any possible means. They're looking at how can they stop mail-in ballots from being counted after Election Day. As many of you know, depending on state rules, as long as the postmark date of the mail-in ballot is before the election or no later than Election Day, it would still be counted. And usually mail within states doesn't take more than a couple of days to be delivered, and those ballots would be counted in the couple of days after Election Day. Trump is looking to limit that. And Trump is also looking, according to aides speaking to Politico, Trump is looking at, could he tell the Postal Service not to deliver certain ballots that states send out? All of this is on the table. Now, here is the really important message. A bunch of experts in voting have looked at everything that they are planning. They've looked at all of these ways in which Donald Trump could suppress the vote. And they've come to the conclusion that these techniques can only do so much. In other words, if you slow down mail delivery, okay, you can delay it, but if people vote early enough, if you send in your absentee ballot 2-3 weeks before the election. It's going to get there before election day, even if Trump slows down the postal service to some degree. A lot of this stuff is done at the state and local level. So the takeaway is slowing down the mail, finding executive orders to hamper delivery of mail-in ballot, all of this different stuff. It can only do so much. And if we overwhelm the vote, it's going to be more powerful than anything Trump can do from what's been floated so far. So yes, at the state and local level, between now and November, we need to do everything we can to push governors and election officials to run the election properly, to not allow these dirty tricks to actually take hold. We need to do everything we can. Yes, at the federal level, we've got Trump's postmaster general who needs to continually be dragged before House committees to testify and to be put on the defensive about what he's doing. But he still might get away with some of this stuff. But in the end, the cumulative effect of all of these techniques, all of these ideas, it can only do a little bit of suppression. If our turnout is low, it could hand the election to Donald Trump. If our turnout is high, it will not make a difference. If we overwhelm the vote, and that includes when you can safely vote in person, doing it, when you can vote by mail, sending in your ballot 2, 3, 4 weeks early, meaning if it takes an extra 5 days to be delivered, it's not going to be a problem. These techniques cannot put Trump back in the Oval Office if we vote. And that's the good news. Now, we also can't ignore the foreign meddling piece. And that's what I want to talk about next. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. One of the things I make a priority on the show is not to perpetuate stigma for things that don't deserve it. We've talked about mental health. We've talked about many things where we should all just be respectful adults, period, and we would be better off. And Blue Chew can increase performance and give you that extra confidence you may be looking for. BlueChew.com, blue like the color blue, is the first chewable with the same FDA-approved ingredient as in Viagra and Cialis. It can be taken day or night, even on a full stomach, since it's chewable. It works twice as fast as a pill. Whenever the opportunity arises, Blue Chew is prescribed online by licensed doctors. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. You don't have to wait in line at a pharmacy. It ships right to your door in a discreet package. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And best of all, no more awkwardness. We've got a special deal for our viewers and listeners. Go to BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free when you use our promo code Pakman. That's Pakman. Pay just $5 shipping. That's BLUE Chew.com, promo code Pakman to try it totally free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the David Pakman Show.